Hello, students. Welcome to our next discussion in the biology of life. So today we're going to be talking about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are part of our greater discussion of what are our biological macromolecules. We've already talked about lipids and proteins. And what's interesting about a lot of these is a lot of these are actually polymers. So when we say polymer, what we mean is we have a large macromolecule that's important for life that is just a repeating pattern. So DNA, as you know, has this nice repeating pattern that if you denatured it and spread it out, it would just be the same backbone over and over and over again, and then one of 4 base pairs. So it can be represented pretty easily. In a similar way, so that's nucleic acids. Let's write this down. Nucleic acids. And that's both DNA and RNA, are nucleic acids. And we call their monomers nucleotides. And if you're taking notes, I encourage you just write down all of these, just like I did for the top one. So for every polymer, you need to know for the AP test the connected monomer. So that's nucleic acids such as DNA and RNA. If you're not going to remember that, make sure you write down DNA or RNA. Now, we also talked about proteins. So you should know what are those repeating monomers called that make proteins. So make sure you fill that out in your notes. Quick reminder, it's amino acids. And then also today we're going to talk about carbohydrates. Their monomers are called saccharides. And in humans, they're made out of glucose. But in general, you should know both the word glucose, but also the general term, which is saccharides. So just like nucleotides could refer to be something making DNA or RNA, amino acids could be making any proteins in any living thing. Glucose is just a specific one that humans use, but in general, we want to use the word saccharide, which is the Greek word for sweet or sugar. So glucose or sugars. So your body uses the glucose and sugars that you consume to make carbohydrates. Now, other living things such as plants will use other monomers, but they're all called saccharides. So yeah, again, the general term that you should probably write in your notes is saccharides. So all carbohydrates are made out of saccharides, just like all proteins are made out of amino acids, and all nucleic acids are made out of nucleotides. Okay, I think that's all we need to say about polymer and monomers for this class. So let's go ahead and look at the specifics with carbs. Again, nice shout out to Khan Academy. They have a very good article on this, so I would encourage you to go read the whole thing. Their AP Bio page is very helpful. They give you lots of useful information. Not everything's necessarily going to be on the test, but everything is useful to helping you understand. Okay, so monosaccharide is when you only have one. So this is not a long monomer. You just have one sugar floating around. And the most common sugars that we see in living organisms are glucose, and it actually comes in 2 forms. Well, 2 forms we see in water. Alpha glucose, which is the more common form in humans, and beta glucose, which is very important for plants forming, which is used in plants to form cellulose, which we'll see. And also there's other forms like ribose and fructose. Fructose you might have heard of from high fructose corn syrup. So that's another one your body can use to break down to get energy. In terms of what your body uses structurally, humans use alpha glucose. Plants actually can use both. If we get two of them together, then it's a slightly more stable bond. And anytime that these form together, they form what's called a glycosidic bond, which I just checked, and I guess you don't need to know that for the AP test. You just need to know this is a type of covalent bond. All of these different polymers are bonded together by different covalent bonds, and based off of the chemistry of it, it's going to be useful for different chemical structures. For example, when you make a very long chain of these, it can be used to make amylose, amylopectin in humans, or it can be used to make cellulose, which is made out of glucose monomers. But again, this is the type of glucose that's actually not so useful for humans. So humans, when we eat cellulose or have cellulose in our food, it just is used as fiber, which is good nutrition, which is good for your intestines because it helps clean them out, but you don't actually get nutritional value out of it. So this is cellulose. It's just a lot of these glucose monomers all bonded together with these covalent bonds. And again, this is made out of glucose monomers in the beta form, not useful, not something that the human body can actually digest. As opposed to that, glucose in the alpha form is used in humans in both branched, so see how these make branches, and unbranched forms called amylose and amylopectin. And that's all you need to know. They have different functions. The branches affects how tightly it'll be stacked together and how it's used in your body. But glucose is not just used in its monomer form. In fact, most of the time your body needs to store it by making these long branched or unbranched chains. And we call these, in humans, we call these starches. Okay, that's it. That's what you need to know about carbohydrates. So by now, you should know what a saccharide is. You should know what a carbohydrate is. You should be able to explain what saccharides are most useful for humans and what saccharides are used in plants to make cellulose. And that's pretty much it. So hopefully that gives you a better understanding. Lastly, before we go, I don't know if you could tell from the picture, but carbohydrates only take 3 different elements. Go ahead and make sure, and maybe you can put in the chat or email me, what are the 3 elements that we saw in the carbohydrates? You should add that to your notes. Okay, that's it. Have a good day. Much love.